Hello, I am Bonnie Melita Quiseno, and I would love to welcome you all to this episode of my series of interviews from authors from Stories of the Goddess, Divine Feminine Frequency Keepers. So, welcome to all of you. And today we get a special treat. We get to speak to Amorita Muñoz. So, welcome, Amorita. It is a pleasure to have you here today.
Thank you so much. I'm honored to be here. Very, very excited.
I'm super excited to have a more in-depth conversation with you because we've only just begun to sort of get to know each other, and you've just already said so many things that pique my curiosity and my interest. So I can't wait to share you with everyone. So just to give you all a little bit of insight into who Amorita is and what she is all about. Um, she is a divinely guided student of life, and she is humbled and honored to be of service to the collective through her unique purpose and mission. She considers herself to be a passionate advocate for growth, healing, and reclaiming personal sovereignty. And that's a big one these days.
Mm.
Amorita holds the pure and loving intention to remain in divine alignment with her highest and most authentic self while inspiring others to do the same, whatever path they are on.
Mhm.
So, ooh, wow, Amorita has certainly not backed down from the most beautiful path I can possibly think of, which is the path of love. And she was sharing with me, you were sharing with me, Amorita, a little bit before we started this interview about your main purpose in life being love. Can you expound on that a little bit for us?
Yes, absolutely. And I love that you had asked about my name and what it means. And I always like to tell people, I'm like, it's easier if you see it spelled. It's Amor, like love, Ita, Amorita. And I'm from Loveland, Colorado. So love has been ingrained in me as my purpose, which I absolutely am in love with. I'm truly a lover of life because I believe that we are incarnated here to expand our souls, to raise the collective consciousness, and to spread love. I think that love is the most powerful force in the universe. Honestly, truly, I think God is love. And I think that by being able to tap into this love and share it, we can have such a powerful ripple effect. And it really does go such a long way. So I like to say one of my slogans within my business and within my life is spread the love, be the peace, and bring the light, because we really do have the power to be able to spread love everywhere that we go, whether it's through a person working at the grocery store, a person at the gas station, someone we're intimately connected with. We are always gifted with opportunities to spread love. And I think that it comes so naturally when we can tap into that frequency and when we're able to be a beacon of light and love and just exist in that frequency. And it still is a practice. And also, it goes such a long way. It's like if someone's having a really bad day, and I've witnessed this, and all we do is smile at them or just see them and recognize that they are exactly where we are, that our paths are crossing, that we're face to face or interacting with each other in some way. If we can see each other in this way, then we're reminded that we're never alone. And I think that we're gifted with that opportunity always. And we live now in a world that a lot of people are looking down. They're looking at their phones. They don't want to look at each other in the eye. They don't want to connect. And so I think the power of connection, being able to simply smile at someone, has that power to move mountains. I genuinely believe that, and to change someone's life by that simple interaction. So yeah, I'm definitely here for the love. No doubt about it.
Absolutely. And I am so with you on that, sister, because I'm all about love as well. And just, I can't understand like the absence of it, or, if you love someone, like you can't, I don't understand like ever stopping loving them. So yes, I totally feel you, but I just have to share this. It's silly and it's funny, but I just have to share it. I'm from Georgia originally. And so Georgia, for many years, was known as the peanut state. I don't know, maybe still, but for many years, it was known as the peanut state. And when I was in college, there was this saying going around: peanut butter is love, spread some around.
I love it. So cheesy. It's so good.
I know,
It's
right? But
good.
the really fun, I mean, it's funny and it's goofy, but the interesting tie-in for me is because my mom, who is just the epitome of love to me, She, if you like, if any food you took away from her, the one you couldn't take would be peanut butter. Like, she just loved peanut butter. It didn't matter what it was on. She peanut butter on everything, right? And so it just is funny to me that peanut butter is love, spread some around, and then that just happened to be like pretty much her favorite food on the planet, and she would spread it all over everything. And then that leads into the stories of the goddess, because my chapter is, primarily about a specific part of my experience with my mom, and
Mm.
my chapter begins with "I am in love."
Oh,
So thank you for, bringing that sort of light-hearted thought to me, because I had not made that connection until this conversation. So thank you for bringing that to me. Yeah, that's
love that. That's so connected and so divine. How
yeah,
beautiful.
right. Yeah, and I feel like it's just my mom's way almost of like saying, hey, she's not in her body anymore, and I feel like it's just kind of her way of saying, hey, lighten up, sweetheart.
Yeah, have some fun.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
I love
So,
that.
so tell us a little bit, Amorita, about your chapter.
Yes, definitely. So part of my chapter, and this is coming through probably because you just shared the opening of yours, and I wrote, "You've always been held," in quotes from the goddess. And I think it's such a loving reminder that throughout our entire lives, our entire journeys, we have been held, we always will be held. And that is the unconditional love that is the divine feminine. So, a big thing for me, what I wanted to express and get through in this chapter, I also share some about my childhood, my experience with my own mother, which was less than pleasant, but it really helped shaped me to who I am. And it was such a loving reminder that even though I didn't have that direct experience with my own mother, the archetype of the mother and the goddess was always there holding me, always there loving me, supporting me. So a big lesson or gift that I wanted to share within my chapter, if you will, is that we're never alone. Everything we need is already within us. We have it all within us. We don't have to look outside of ourselves. Someone else's opinion or perception of us doesn't define who we are. Everything we need is already within. So I think that in the world where a lot of our validation can come externally, or a lot of our belief systems, how we believe about ourselves even, can come from external sources. It's so important to tune back inwards, to
Mhm.
know that we have everything we need within us, to know that we've always been held, that we will be supported, that we will be guided as long as we're open to it. And that's something I really wanted to express and channel and share in the chapter, was that we all have access to this inner wisdom, this divine guidance, this infinite source of love, but it truly is up to us to tap into it. We have free will. So it's just as easy to tap into this, and it's just as easy not to. So I think that being able to bring light to that, of knowing we have a choice, knowing that it's up to us. We can't control the experiences that happen directly in our lives, but we can absolutely control how we react and how we respond, with the power of pause, of course, which I love to speak on. I'm like, the power of pause goes a long way, because listen, this human journey, this human earth walk is not easy, but we came here to expand, to learn, and to grow. So if we can remember that and be aligned with our highest self, our God consciousness self, then we're ultimately supporting our own journey and the entire collective consciousness as well.
Yeah, and you've brought a couple of points to me. So you said, everything we need is within us, and I also sort of think it's also without us,
Mhm.
like outside of us as well as within us, because we aren't actually just this little island, stuck on a planet that's spinning around in the middle of nowhere, walking around wondering how in the world we stay stuck on it, right? So
Mhm.
it's it is within us, but I feel like we're almost, when you said that, I saw us almost as like a Taurus,
Mhm.
that shape where it's like it's out but it's coming in, and it's going out and it's coming in, and I sort of, I don't know, I just sort of see it as, maybe we are like a Taurus, and had never had that thought really in that sense until you just said, everything is within us, which obviously, we've all heard that many, many times, but for whatever reason coming out of your mouth, it sparked that thought for me. So I wanted to just share that with you.
I
Um,
love.
Yeah, and that's just, yeah, thank you for that.
As within, so without also. It's everything that's going on with us internally is going to be reflected in our external reality. So when we're working through something, someone may come into our lives that are going to act as they're going to be in a certain role to support whatever it is that we're experiencing and going through. And I think that's such a beautiful and loving reminder that although it is within us, just like you said, it's still circulating
Mhm,
outwardly into the world. And I always like to speak to this when it comes to unconditional love, because when we can unconditionally love and accept ourselves, we're able to express that unconditional love outwardly into the world. And then we can act as these mirrors for one another in a beautiful way. We can continue to spread more love that way too. So it's really powerful that, thank you for bringing that forward of, yes, it's all within us and it's also around us too. And that's going to be reflected back as well
mhm,
as
mhm.
everything.
Yeah, that just sort of it sort of reflects back to what I was talking with one of the other authors the other day about how we are so multi-layered, and sometimes we don't realize it. We sort of, as children, are sort of taught about just this physical aspect, most of us, and then maybe some of us have gone on to understand and realize that there's more than the physical. We start thinking about the chakras and the this and the that, and it really just becomes so rich and so multi-layered.
Mhm.
And then the connection between this and what is out there is, that has been something that I have been really sitting with a lot lately, and
Mhm.
um, really conceptualizing how we indeed are. There's just so much energy flowing back and forth, as you said,
Yeah.
as within, so without, and as above, so below. It's
Mhm.
like it's just such a beautiful cycle that I'm glad that has come up in this conversation today. And so, in that thought, I would like to know I'm just curious to know
Yeah.
what your take is on, you were mentioning how the goddess energy, the divine feminine energy, has always held us.
Mhm.
So for younger women who are maybe just starting to find out about this divine feminine energy, what advice would you give them to help them on that journey?
Oh, such a great question. Such a beautiful thing to bring forward. I think really it's our own unique expression and our own unique experience. So, one thing that I really like to speak to for anyone that is kind of rediscovering this layer of themselves and diving back inward, or rediscovering that aspect of who they are in the divine feminine essence, what she has to offer to the world. I think it's so important for us to remember that it's going to be a unique experience for every single one of us within our own specific incarnation. So something that could mean everything to me could mean nothing to you, right? So a phrase I hear a lot of readers use and I use myself, or mentors, coaches, is take what resonates, leave what doesn't. So I think that would be my biggest advice, is seeing how we feel and really tapping into the body's wisdom and that energy behind how certain phrases, even certain words, certain experiences, certain foods, certain music, how does it make us feel, truly feel? That is such a gift from the divine feminine, to be able to tap into how we feel in our intuitive side. So I think that the more that we're able to kind of, I always like to say it's almost like we create our own love language with the universe, because
Mhm,
it's going to be unique to us.
mhm,
So for some people, it might start out with seeing angel numbers. They might just discover angel numbers and start seeing them everywhere and find out what those messages mean. For someone else, it could be animal totems. For someone else, it could be working with different goddesses that come directly to them or presenting themselves in their journey directly. So I think the biggest thing I would say is finding our own, again, kind of love language with the universe, and really being able to have that gift of discernment to know what is resonating with us and for us at the soul level, and leaving the rest for someone else. I think that's so crucial and important. Not everything has to fit. And I think that in every and any layer of spirituality, that's so important to bring forward, because we can respect certain beliefs without believing in them ourselves. And that is our gift of free will, in a sense too, of being able to know that doesn't super resonate with me, but this does. Like that layer, I'm not so sure, and honoring ourselves in that. Because I think what can happen when we're starting out on this journey is there can sometimes be so much information, so much wisdom shared, so much to learn that it can be a little overwhelming. So I always like to say, just it's all in our own divine timing. It's all in our own way, our own divine essence. Whatever is presenting ourselves or presenting itself, in our own journey, that's what we can focus on. What's right in front of us, what's coming in for us, and then diving deeper. I'm a big fan of inquiry of like, what does this mean? I've been like this my whole life. Like, I wonder what that meant. Is that a sign? I love that about myself. That might not resonate for others, right? But for me, that was something that even getting quiet, and I talk about this in my chapter towards the end, getting quiet and asking is sometimes the most powerful thing we can do, just diving even deeper.
Thank you. And I really want to repeat one thing specifically that you said because it is such a powerful statement. I absolutely want to make sure that it doesn't get missed. You said, find your own love language with the universe.
Mhm.
Sit in silence with that for a moment.
Mhm.
Take a deep breath into that. Find your own love language with the universe. It's just powerful. What a jewel that was. Thank you for that. It's
Thank you.
really beautiful. And then that brings me to another thing I'd like to get your thoughts on.
Yeah.
So we're looking at this sort of love aspect and this nurturing aspect in the feminine,
Mm.
of divine feminine. And I don't know how you grew up, but I know a lot of I did in the I kind of didn't because I did grow up in the Bible Belt, but my mom was, walking a different beat. But I still got it from my culture, from my society, from my surroundings. And many people do have this sort of this God image. It's this masculine image that is the divine, and that's it, period. What are your thoughts on that?
This is powerful in itself. So I feel that there's a lot of people that when they think of God, and first off, I think that word can be very spiritually triggering to a lot of people, depending on what their background was, what their religious upbringing may have been, maybe even against their will sometimes. So I think that that word can hold a lot of interesting perspective in itself. But I do feel that a lot of people, when they make a connection of what God is, they imagine this big giant man up in the sky. And my dad, it's so funny for anyone that's seen The Simpsons, he calls it the Simpsons God. And there's this joke. It's like on Christmas, he's like, do I have to work today? It's my kid's birthday, joking of like this big giant man in the sky, right? This is this image of God, the Simpsons God, this depiction of God. And so I think that bringing in the divine feminine energy of God consciousness, the God and the goddess, having that duality, masculine and feminine in perfect harmony, that is all of creation. That's what allows creation to exist. I think that the more we can see or feel or connect with God in our own way, recognizing and realizing that it's an energy and an infinite source, and that again we're going to have our own relationship to God and what that is. But I think from a society standpoint of how so many people were raised, it really is, it's like this giant man up in the sky. And so for me, I actually didn't even use the word God for a long time. It's something I just kind of reopened myself up to, and I use it a little bit more freely. And also I believe that I'm here to be a spiritual mentor and a teacher. So it's important to be able to meet souls and people where they are and be able to use their language. But for me, in my own personal life, I think coming back to that understanding of God being love, the energy of love, this beautiful, divine, harmonious union between the masculine and feminine energies to again equal all creation and to create and co-create. I think that has been such a game changer in my own journey and my own experience to welcome that energy back in, because there is so much power in that. And yeah, this could be a whole episode in itself speaking to this. So thank you for bringing this forward. I just think, again, it's so important for us to even get quiet and sit with that again, the inquiry, why do I have maybe an issue? Why do I feel triggered by this word or this image of this giant man in the sky? Like, where does that come from? Because a lot of the time, it's not even ours. It's just something that we've been conditioned to believe.
Or conversely, why do I feel triggered when someone says something other than God? Why do I feel triggered by someone who says source or universe or spirit? Why am I triggered by that?
Yeah.
And it's a
Oh,
very much a two-way street, because I know for myself, I didn't feel comfortable with the word God for a time, and I wasn't sure why. It just felt like it was not all encompassing enough to me. And I didn't even understand the why of that. Sometimes I still don't, because it's such a vast, huge topic. Um,
yeah.
but I was afraid, depending on who I was speaking to, not to say it. But I felt like I was betraying myself if I did say it. And so I, like you, have recently started to use it more, and actually realizing that I'm just meeting them where they are.
Mhm.
Call it whatever you want to call it. We're really all talking about the same thing. But
Yeah.
I do understand too, the older I get, the more lopsided just the word God feels to me.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I have actually toyed with the idea of calling it love.
Mhm.
Um,
Absolutely.
yeah. There's a particular group of monks in the yoga tradition who they chant Baba Nam Kevalam all the time, and that means is love is all there is,
Mm, that's so beautiful.
which is interesting because when you think about love is all there is, and the word is comes from you know I am, and I am is also known as the divine name,
Mhm.
one of the divine names, but it is sort of the really real essence. And oftentimes in yoga traditions, you can find people who will teach that the sound Om was the sound that initially created the universe. So it's really interesting when you think about the vibration of everything. If God is what created the universe. What if Om was the expression of God at that time, and it just happened to be sound waves bumping along, and whatever, or somehow that you know came into this creation of all that we see, because everything is vibration. Some things just vibrate at a level that sounds, some things vibrate at a level that we see, some things vibrate at a level that we feel. So
Yeah.
how is all that sort of tied together, and that comes back to that sort of multi-layered aspect of ourselves and everything. So yeah, we need to have a series of these conversations.
Right. I'm saying it's so powerful and it's so true. And I love that you brought that forward too, with even the triggering around the word universe or source or spirit or whatever it is. And I think, again, it's like what seems to be a big core foundation within this interview of, or this conversation, I should say, is creating and developing our own love language with the universe, because then we can know, okay, they're saying this because that makes sense to them, but I know how I believe and what I feel, what resonates for me. And I think that when we're able to do that, that brings us together and we can create heaven on earth from that energy of union rather than separation. It's not, oh, I believe this and they believe this, I'm right, they're wrong, or they're right and I'm wrong. It's none of that. It's just recognizing that we're going to have, and we may have, and we can have different perspectives, which everything is perspective. So I think that's so
Yes.
good too.
And everything is perspective based on experiences. And everything here really is just an experience,
Yeah, absolutely.
which really diffuses all the charge around pretty much everything if you think of it that way. Like, oh, it's just an experience, right? Just
Yeah,
an
absolutely. Absolutely.
experience. So, uh, on this conversation of wholeness, and integrating things together and weaving things together, that is bringing me to also now think about the experience with Rada Publishing House,
Mhm.
because as you know and I know, Rada Publishing House is all about bringing together. That's why this book is a collection, a collective of women. That's why it's not written by one of us, it's written by all of us. And that experience and that sort of concept and task they have set forth for themselves to hold the space to
Mm.
create communities around a topic which culminates in the form of a book
Mhm.
is I think is rather lovely, and I've had a wonderful experience with it. And would you speak a little bit to your experience with that?
Yeah, definitely. I think, and this has been coming up so much this week as we're getting closer. The book is coming out now. It's been such a community effort and such a supportive energy. That's really what I felt this whole process is the unconditional love and support. I knew that if I had questions, I could ask, which is great because I have so many questions all the time. So being able to ask people that have done this before, it's again knowing that someone has already paved the way and we can ask them, hey, what about this? Oh, this is coming up for me, and feeling that support energetically, not just with Rada Publishing House, but with all of the beautiful, powerful beings that came together to create this and co-create it and birth it into the physical. I think it's so powerful to be on the group calls and hear everyone's stories and their own unique flavors and their own expressions. And I'm such a believer that we need everyone in the world to be able to operate in their gifts and to share their unique voice, because we all speak our own language and there's going to be people that resonate with us on the soul level. And the more voices that we have, the more that we can reach a greater amount of people, because then we have these so many different voices, so many multidimensional layers, not even just our own unique multidimensional essence, which we all have, but then we have this beautiful, incredible, connected group of powerful women that are all sharing so openly, so honestly, and so vulnerably. So it was really beautiful to just feel that unconditional love and support throughout the process. And I think too, it just felt like that energy of a big hug of like, you're not alone. You're so supported and loved, because this is something that can bring up a lot of feelings and it can be very scary. We're taking our soul and what we've experienced here on earth and expressing it into words, the written word especially. So I think it's such a vulnerable thing anyway. So to have so much love and support throughout the process was such a gift, truly.
And on that note, I'll share something that I haven't shared with anyone. It only recently came into its being for me. But I sort of feel like you said, like it's a great big hug. I almost feel like we're all in this giant circle with our arms around each other's shoulders, creating this space of safety and being held, like you say in your chapter. Um, but something that really surprised me, um, you hear about when someone passes from their body that there's a thinning of the veil, right? And I just experienced that so viscerally with my mom, and I'm still really in that space. So, I don't know how many times I've said in these interviews, oh, Stories of the Goddess, we're going into pre-publishing on Thursday, March the 23rd. And then when it happened yesterday, early,
Yeah.
I sort of felt like I was standing in the middle of a stage and someone had opened the curtain. I didn't have my costume on yet. So I
Yeah.
just wasn't ready.
Yeah.
And then I remember like I was here by myself and I just said out loud to my mom, Mom, we
Mm.
did it. We did it. And then I burst into tears and I really didn't know why, except I knew that I'm going to make myself cry, except I knew that it was the first big thing I'd ever done in my life that she wasn't around to give me a hug for. And that
Mm.
was huge. I mean, she was around, but she couldn't give me that physical hug, right? Um,
Yeah.
but I've just noticed I've been really being tuned into myself, and there's just been a great sensitivity since that moment of finding out that the book had been published. And what I have realized, and when you just said birthing this book, and I've used those words myself, I used them yesterday in an interview, I believe, but it hadn't been birthed yet. Um,
Mhm.
And now when you said it, and I'm thinking about what I have been experiencing since it was published, I feel, and I think the same thing happens when you're coming into this world. There's a sort of thinning of the veil also. And
Mhm.
I really feel like all day long I've been thinking the veil feels thinner again than it had been feeling for a little while. I mean, it had not gotten back to its normal state for me, but I was like, it just feels thinner again. Why is it thinner again? This is why. It's exactly why, because we just birthed this book. And
Mhm.
I'm just sensing that thinning of the veil of birthing something that doesn't have to be a human. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's wow. I'm glad
And
you
talk about creatrix energy of the divine feminine of
said.
you're constantly birthing. I had a mentor and she used to call them idea babies. She's like, we're going to conceive an idea baby. What idea baby do you want to turn
Oh,
into a physical?
love
And that
that.
really stuck with me. I just got chills down my back even saying that because it's so real when we have the power always to be divinely inspired and take inspired action to birth something in the physical. We can be, and I've been saying this over and over again, and it keeps coming back up, which I sense is for a purpose. The divine feminine is very 5D to me. The divine masculine feels a little bit more 3D, but the role is to bring all of that beautiful, harmonious essence that is the divine feminine, that intuitive thinning of the veil, if you will, more, how do I want to say this? I don't want to say more cosmic essence, but a little bit like bringing it into the physical and birthing it actually, because we can say all day long that we're going to do these things, but then once it happens, once it's here physically, it's a whole different energy. So it makes sense feeling that the veil's thinner and that this book being now physically birthed, it's like there was an energetic shift even with that, because now it's really out there. We know obviously how much effort, how much intention, how much time and energy has gone into birthing these chapters, each individually, in the editing process and all of it, right? But now that it's actually being birthed, it's a whole different energy. And it's so beautiful to witness and to observe, not only just how we are ourselves are responding to this being birthed, but also how it's going to impact the greater good and what's going to happen once it's really out there in people's hands and on
Mhm.
their Kindles and on their iPads, So these words, they have so much power to travel throughout all time and space and find every single beautiful soul that these stories need to find, because the impact is so real. So I think we're all feeling it so much more because now it's grounded here. Now it's real. It's
Oh,
really
yeah,
happening.
yeah, yeah. And I'm really curious to see what it's going to feel like when it goes into print, when it's actually a physical thing. And this is, I have to say, this is one of the things that has made me embrace technology, because I really did not. I was kicking and screaming. I didn't want to, nothing to do with technology. But I finally thought, well, all these waves of information are running through the air at all times, and
Mhm.
I might as well hop on there and contribute some waves that are, you know, higher vibration. So just the fact that we have birthed this book baby
Yeah.
into the ethers of internet, yeah, it's really powerful. So yeah, thank you so much, Amorita. Would you have anything else that you would like to share with us about your writing of your chapter or your experience throughout this? Anything else you would like to share with us?
I think just I really want to share that it's up to us to go for it and to take action and to say yes, because all of the time we are gifted with opportunities, and it's up to us to feel if they're in divine alignment for us, if it's a yes for us, if we're excited. And then if it is a yes and we can feel the energy to make it happen, whatever it takes, and to be open to the possibilities. Because for me, even being able to be in this book, I actually got gifted a spot by a friend who's also an author in this book, Jessica Phillips. And she had told me, because I kept saying, like, I'm just waiting, I'm waiting for a way. The universe is going to provide a way so that I can be in this book. I know I meant to be in this book. And she's like, my love, I've offered you now 3 times to gift you that spot. And she's like, it's up to you to receive. Like, the offer is there. I mean that. And so stepping into that and being able to say yes and receive, that was a big deal for me. I, in the past, was strong, independent woman, did everything myself, didn't want to receive support or help or whatever it was. So even starting this process with that of knowing that it's safe to receive and that it's okay, and that I was being gifted with that opportunity, and still it was up to me to say yes. Because again, we're always presented with opportunities every single day. I truly strongly believe this. But ultimately, we have to be the ones, we have free will. We have to be the ones to be able to say yes and take inspired action to make it happen. So I think it's kind of when people talk about, oh, we don't have to know the how, right? And yet we can still ask, like, show me the way. Show me the way, show me the opportunity. If this is something we really want, then we can plant those seeds and put it out there. And then it is up to us to recognize when we're presented with a divinely aligned, opportunity, that we have the power to say yes to and to make it happen, taking inspired action. So we never know sometimes what opportunities are going to come our way, but we absolutely have the power to make the most of every single one that comes.
Yeah. So I'd like to recap just a little bit. So if I heard you properly, you're saying that you know, you're you hold a space of love and give love, and all about love, and we're all invited to do the same.
Mhm.
But what you sort of learned on this journey was it's not only about giving love, but also being able to receive love, as your friend was offering you multiple times, and you were just still asking the universe for the same thing, but the universe was giving it, giving it, giving it, until finally she said, my love.
Yeah.
Yep. So what a beautiful lesson was that. Did I get that right?
Yes, absolutely. And I love the way that it's like you wrapped that up and tied it with a bow. It was so beautiful because it is so true. I'm such a big believer in reciprocated energy and being able to equally give and receive and balance. That's the great ebb and flow of all of life. I truly believe that. And that is, again, divine masculine, divine feminine energies, the give and the receive energies. So I think that that's so beautifully put, how you brought that all back together, because it is so real. So
Mhm.
being able to not only spread love, but also receive it too. So that way we're always in balance, we're always flowing. It's this beautiful circulation of energy, if you will, for the highest good of all, always.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you. So, Amorita, my little love, do you have
Hey.
any projects that you would like to share with us? Anything you have going on, and or how can we find you?
Yes, thank you for asking. So I do have my website. It's www.amoritaspurpose.com. I have one-on-one offerings as well as group offerings, which is really what I'm most passionate about right now. So I just released an inner workshop. I have a series of inner workshops that I like to host and create. And my newest one that I just released is called 7 Days, 7 Chakras. So it's really great for no matter where we're at in our journey, whether we've never heard of the chakras or we work with them daily. It was really beautifully channeled. I came up with different information, different crystals that support each chakra, foods, all of these things, how to know if the chakras are out of balance, when they're in balance. But also, my favorite part personally is that I channeled divinely guided meditations and energy activations for every single chakra.
Oh,
So
wow.
that's really powerful. And they're all around 10 minutes. So it's something that can be integrated into our daily practice and our daily lives, which I'm all about, making it very accessible and easy. So that's something I'm really passionate about. And then I have more inner workshops coming. I have an inner child workshop that I did back in March a few years ago, and it was called the Little Me Workshop. And I think I'm going to do a second part to that one, just because so much inner child healing is needed, I think, for so many. Is
Mhm.
something that I'm really passionate about. So I think that will be my next one coming up. So yeah, all my offerings are on my website, and I love working with people one-on-one too.
Oh,
So
wow, what a beautiful set of offerings you have too. Thank you for sharing this with us. And thank you again so much for sharing your time and your space and your thoughts and your love with us today. And I just would love to encourage everyone to after you see this video at the bottom, there will be a link that you can go to get this wonderful book that we have been discussing today, Stories of the Goddess, Divine Feminine Frequency Keepers. And yeah, I just totally encourage you to get it as quickly as you can, because if you're seeing this right away, right after I post it, it's going to be 99 cents, but not for long. So go for it as quickly as you can while you can still get the 99 cents. So thank you again so much, Amorita, for being here and sharing and spreading your love.
Thank you for having me, Bonnie. It's been such a great pleasure to be here.
Thank you. It has been my pleasure to have you here as well.